Hey guys, so I'm going to be showing you how to create a really simple budget from scratch on Google Sheets. Google Sheets is totally free, and creating a budget that you can use to update your finances is going to give you so much freedom. So I'm going to show you how to do that. There is some Google Sheets coding involved in this, but it's really simple, so don't worry. And that coding is going to basically do all the math for you, so you can just plug in expenses and not have to worry about updating a budget manually. So let me go ahead and show you how to do it. This is the finished one that I'm going to be recreating for you, and we're going to start from scratch on the next page over here. So whenever you're creating a budget, it's super important to always start with the money to budget. So we'll put that in. So income, money, kind of the same thing. So we're going to do money to budget or income to budget. Then we're going to put total budgeted, and then money left to budget. Now, when you're budgeting, it's always important that you start with your income or your money that you have to budget, and then you need to budget every single dollar, okay? So that's why we have total budgeted and money left to budget. This just gives you another view of how much you actually have left to throw into different categories. So we're gonna start by adding some categories in, and then we're going to start filling it out, okay? So, we have our income up here. Then when you move down a little bit, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start adding what's called buckets or categories, okay? So we're going to add our buckets. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add individual categories. So the way that you're going to want to group it, at least the way I like to, is you're going to start with your bills. And I'd like to color code these just to add some variation to what you're seeing. So we'll do bills, and then from here you're going to add in all of the bills you can think of, okay? So for our example, I have rent, electric bill, gas, internet, and phone. Oops. We'll type those in, and obviously these are going to change based on what you do and what you have in your life currently. Then we're going to move to our next category, which is going to be living expenses. And you can always add to these as you go, so if you forget something, you can always add to it, okay? So we have living expenses, which is basically everything that you need to survive, but is not necessarily a recurring bill, okay? So we have living expenses. For this example, I have groceries, supplies, and gas for the car. We're gonna write those in. And the beauty of doing a budget like this is every single month you can just copy and paste this budget. So you only have to do this building out once, which is really great. So the next category is we have fun money, which is my favorite category. For this example, I have out to eat, fun outings, like going and doing stuff, and then I have a couple of subscriptions in here just to show you how to handle these. I like to put these under fun money instead of bills, even though they're recurring subscriptions, because technically if you cut these out, you'd be okay. This stuff up here is bills that you need to survive, okay? And I mean, technically you could cut out internet and be okay, but depending on your situation, you may not have that luxury. So that goes under bills, but I like putting these subscriptions under fun money. So we have out to eat. Then the last category is going to be our savings category. Now this is just any money that you are going to be pooling to basically make a bigger account. So your savings account, your emergency fund, your vacation fund can go in here if you're saving for retirement, if you're saving for something big like a big purchase or a new car, anything that you're saving can go under here. Does that make sense? So in this category I have savings account, emergency fund, and vacation fund. Okay, so now we have all of our categories mapped out here, and now the next step is going to be adding just some functionality to start adding what we're actually budgeting, okay? So now we come over here, and what I like to do is I like to highlight the different amounts up here as we're budgeting. Just part of that is just because I like colors, but it also just separates what you're doing. So we're going to highlight income to budget, this spot right here. We're going to go ahead and highlight this green because money is good, right? Total budgeted, we're just going to pick yellow, and then money left to budget, I'm going to go ahead and just make that orange. Cool. So from here, what you can do is we're actually going to type a number into this first one. So you're going to type in your amount you're going to budget. So we're going to do 3,300. And we're going to add into here, you're going to actually click on that cell, or actually you're going to click on this entire row, or this row right here, so it highlights the whole thing, and you're going to make that a currency, so it actually shows up as money, okay? So you're going to type in 3,300 up here. This is the only number that you're going to change. These next two are actually going to be formulas, okay? So what you're going to do is when you actually put in the numbers you're budgeting, you'll type them in here, okay, and I'll show you how to do that, and these numbers are going to change this. So all you're going to do is you're going to click on total budgeted, and you're going to put in this formula right here. You're going to go equals sum, parentheses, then you're going to click on the start of the cell here, and you're just going to drag down, okay, till it encompasses this whole area here, okay, and then you're just going to hit enter. Okay, now this says 0 because we don't have anything here yet. However, if I type $10, do you see how this becomes $10 right here? That's exactly what we want. Then what you're going to do is this cell, you want this to be how much money you have left, okay? So this, you're going to hit equal sign, then you're going to click on money to budget, minus sign, total budgeted. And then you're just going to hit enter. Okay, so what you have now is you have the total money you're budgeting, how much you've budgeted so far, and how much you have left. So now as we go to fill this out, it's going to change up here, and you don't have to pull out a calculator and do this manually because Google Sheets is now going to do this completely for you. So if you see now, if I type $10 here, it updates here and here. Okay, and if I add another $50 for my electric bill, it updates here, so now I've budgeted $60 and I have $3,240 left to budget. Okay, so that is the first part of building this budget out, okay? Now, it's really helpful for me to actually see these numbers change as I go. So what I would actually recommend you do for right now is actually start building this out, okay? So actually start writing in how much you're actually spending on this, okay? And then what we're going to do is after you have all these numbers in, we're going to start adding in all of the features to this budget to actually start tracking that and having the budget start working for you. So I'm going to go ahead and punch in some numbers just for this example, but you can go ahead and pause this video and go and actually type in all of the amounts that you currently spend, as well as add in all of these categories based on your budget. So pause this and come back when you're done with that. Okay, so after you've plugged in all of your numbers and looked them over and made sure that you're okay with everything, this up here should equal 0. So money left to budget should be 0, and total budgeted should be the exact same as the money to budget. This is just a cross-check to make sure that you have budgeted every single dollar, which is hugely important when you are creating your budget. So now at this point, now that we know how much we actually have to spend in these categories, we're going to add some functionality to this budget to track it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create over here a way to track our bills, okay? So what we're going to have over here, and I like to actually highlight the bills in red so that I know these need to be paid, okay? So, and I'll highlight the whole thing, but what you're going to do is you're going to add a little column here. So this is going to be total budgeted. Then you're going to move one over, and this is going to be date paid. You're going to move one over, and this is going to be amount paid. And then you're going to move one over, and this is going to be total remaining, or just remaining. Okay? And like I said, I like to highlight this whole section red so that I know this needs to be paid, okay? And I'm going to track it right here, okay? So now what you're going to do, because it's important to know how much you've actually paid and how much is remaining, because some bills are static, but other ones fluctuate throughout the month. So one time your electric bill may be $90, one time it might be $30, one time it might be whatever. Now, hopefully it's not fluctuating that much, but depending on the time of year, it might. So we're going to add a little bit of coding into this just to know what we have left. So all we're going to do is this remaining category right here, we're going to type in, well, first we're going to click on it, and then we're going to go equals, you're going to click on total budgeted for that row, minus amount paid, enter. Now what this is going to do is this is going to take this number, what we've budgeted, minus what we actually paid, okay? And we're going to repeat that for the next one down. So remaining equals to be budgeted minus sign amount paid, enter. Same thing for the next one. Equals to be budgeted minus amount paid. And we're going to do that just for these red ones right here. Okay, so now we've done this functionality for all of our bills that we need to pay and we're going to track here. I'm also going to actually scroll down, and even though these subscriptions are in the fun money category, I'm going to do the same thing because I know these are bills I need to pay or that are going to be automatically charged. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to type up here to be budgeted, date paid, amount paid, remaining. And you don't have to add these titles into each section, but it's helpful for me because I like being able to see at a glance without having to come all the way up here. And I'm just going to highlight all of these blue so they span all the way across. All right, so I'm going to put the same function here as I did up here. Okay, so we're going to click equals to be budgeted, or total budgeted, not to be budgeted, I'm sorry. So we're going to click here, equal sign, total budgeted, minus amount paid, enter. And then the same thing for the next one for the Spotify. Okay, so now when we actually go to track these, what we're going to do is we'll put in the date that we paid it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put the amount you paid. So if this is a fixed bill, $1,200, and you paid that full fixed bill, you're going to enter $1,200. And boom, that's what you paid. That's what you have left, $0. Does that make sense? And what you can also do is wherever you have something that's supposed to be money, you can actually, if the entire column is supposed to be money, you can highlight the entire column and make it money. So it always shows up here. And you do that by just clicking the Format as Currency button. Cool. So we have, right at this point, we've already formatted how to track our bills, okay? And we can do this with all of our electric bills. If we paid our electric bill and we only ended up paying $98.34 instead of the full $100 we budgeted, that's going to show up that we now have $1.66 remaining, okay? And then we're going to put something in here to track all the money we have left. Cool? So that's where we're at thus far. The next thing that we need to do is we need to actually add in some functionality to track our monthly purchases for the things that we spend, okay? So when we're over here, if I budgeted $300 for groceries, I need some way to track that on a daily or weekly basis, and obviously there's no room right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually create almost like a page type of thing to the right here and title it groceries so that we can track those expenses one at a time as we purchase them. And we're going to add a code in there to basically update the entire budget and track everything so we don't have to do it manually. Okay, so keep in mind that all of your categories may not be exactly what I have here, so you can create these however works for you. You know, you can have a groceries, you can have a supplies, maybe you need a clothing budget, whatever you need to do to track this, you can create these however you want. So just keep that in mind. This formula will work for whatever category, you'll just title it differently, okay? So we are actually gonna start in the grocery category because we already formatted all the recurring purchases that are just one-time payments for the month, okay? We already did that. So we're going to start with groceries, and what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the right, and this is actually going to be a 4-column little section, okay? So I like to highlight the little 4-column a different color because it just helps me know where everything starts and stops. So we're going to create a little 4-column purple strip here, or whatever color you want, and we're going to start by titling whatever the category is. So we're going to do groceries, and that's going to be the start. Now we're going to add 4 different categories here: date, where, amount, remaining. Okay, so we're just going to type those in: date, where, amount, remaining. Okay, so go ahead and type those in. Then what you're going to do is, as you track these, this gives you a place to put in when you spent the money, where you spent the money, how much you spent, and this right here is going to tell you how much you have left in your grocery budget. Okay, so we know that we budgeted $300 for groceries. However, we're not just going to type that in. We need to actually create a formula for this. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is we are going to click on this cell right here. Okay, and I actually like to highlight this yellow because this is giving me my total remaining amount. Okay, so we're going to click on that, and this formula is a little more complicated, but it's still not bad, so just bear with me, okay? Okay, so what you're gonna do to get this remaining amount is you're going to click on the cell, and then you're going to hit equals. Then what you're gonna do is you're going to click on the category, so groceries, you're gonna click on 300. Then you're going to do minus parentheses, so the opening parentheses. Then you're gonna type in sum, and then you're going to do another parentheses, open. Then what you're going to do is you're going to click on this entire column. Okay, so it's going to say I to I, so I colon I. Close parentheses, enter. Okay, then what you have here, this says remaining, and now everything that you type in here is going to adjust right here. Cool? So now if I type in $5, now this is saying I have $295. And once again, because this column is money, you can transfer it over and make it money format by clicking that. And now you have all of this. So now if you said, okay, on February 2nd, I spent $5 at Walmart, it updates for you. Okay, and the same thing. If I do this again, now I put $10, it updates. Okay, so this is going to update, and this is going to show you real time all the money that you have left in this category. Cool? So the cool thing is once you've created this cell once, you don't need to recreate it every single time. You just need to make a tweak inside of the formula, but it's really, really easy, okay? So once you do that, we're going to go ahead and create one of these for every single category. So first we have groceries, now we have supplies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the top, and we're just going to click and drag to highlight this entire section. We're going to right click, copy, or Command C or Control C, whatever program you're using. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click, and I like to leave a space, we're going to click on the next column over. We're going to right click, and we're going to go paste. Okay, now this is going to actually copy over the formula, but what we need to do is just make a couple changes. So first we'll change this to our next category, which is supplies. Then what we're going to do is we have to click on this, and the only thing we have to change is this first orange number right here. Okay, it copies over everything else. So if this right here was B14 for groceries, then supplies is going to be B15. So we're just going to click on that little yellow square and B15, enter. And now this changes over everything. So now if I take out these, we have $100 in that budget, which is exactly what we have over here for supplies. Okay, now we're going to just copy it again for the gas for the car. Come up here, copy all four, right click, copy, click, paste, and then all we have to do is change a couple things. So this is now gas for car, and then just make sure you come over here. So if this was B15, this is now B16. We come over here, click on the yellow. I'm going to change this to B16. And now you have that formula you can copy for all of these. So groceries, supplies, gas for car, so on and so forth. I can do the same thing for out to eat. I just need to find out this number. So this is B20. Does that make sense? So I'm going to go ahead and copy these for all of our sections. And one thing to note on Google Sheets is once you hit Z, it stops you from scrolling, but you can just right click and go insert one left, and it's going to keep adding. So you can just do this a couple times. You can even copy all the cells, and it'll give you the option to insert 3 left. Then you can copy the 6 or whatever, but you can basically add as many columns as you need It stops you at Z automatically, but you can go ahead and add as many as you need by inserting a column to the left. So now we have all of these categories down, and just note, we didn't make these for any of our bills, and we also didn't make these for any of our savings accounts, okay? These aren't accounts, these aren't things that we're actually actively spending from, so we don't necessarily need to track them, okay? Now, if you ever hit a month where you need to pull from savings, that's okay, and we actually adjust for that at the end of the month, okay? Obviously, you don't want to pull from savings, but sometimes stuff happens. That's actually something that we adjust at the end. So we only need these columns right here for the categories that you are spending from throughout the month, okay? So like I said, these might change for you based on your situation, but you can add and take away as much as you want since you know the formula, okay? So now that we have all of these, a couple more things that we need to add just to complete the functionality, and we're actually almost done with this, is we need to add in this remaining category the remaining amount for each of these. So this number up here, this is the same number that should be here, okay? But instead of typing that in manually, we want Google Sheets to do it for us. So all we're going to do is we're going to click on this spot right here, so in remaining, and we're going to type equals, and then we're going to click on this box right here. So if we're in groceries, we want to click on the remaining box for groceries and then hit enter. And that's it. So then same thing for supplies. We're in the remaining, we hit equal, and then we're going to scroll over to supplies, click there, enter. Okay, same thing. Gas for car equals gas for car remaining. Okay, and then we're going to do this for all of the remaining categories. Cool. So now at this point, we have all of our remaining budget programmed in. So now if I enter something into groceries, what you'll notice is if I put in that we've spent another $100, this updates here, and it also updates here. So this number and this number should be the same thing. Cool? You can see right there. And what you can do if you want is you can actually highlight all of these remaining just so it all matches, but whatever works better for you. Okay, so now that we have all of this structured, what we're going to do is we're actually going to make sure that we have this savings category programmed so that it's working for us the same way. So we're going to actually treat this the exact same way that we did these bills and subscriptions up here. We're just going to title it differently. Okay, so what we're going to do, instead of calling this total total to budget, this is going to be total to save. Okay, and then this is going to be the date transferred, and then this is going to be amount transferred, and this is going to be remaining. Okay, same thing as before. Now the reason that we do this a little differently is because we don't actually transfer over our funds until the end of the month. Because at the end of the month, we look at everything that we have left and we decide, okay, do we want to put more into the savings or do we want to put more into our vacation fund, so on and so forth. And then from there, you transfer accordingly. So the reason that we don't keep a tally of this over here to the right is because we touch this at the end of the month. Okay, now what you're going to do for this is the exact same thing. You just want remaining here to be this minus this. Okay, so remaining equals total to save minus, I'm sorry, not that one, amount transferred. Enter. Okay, equals total to save minus amount transferred. And do that for all of your savings categories. Okay. And we can highlight these yellow just to make everything match. Okay, now the last thing that we're going to want to do, and this pretty much wraps up this entire budget and just gives you tons of functionality, is we're going to add something down here called total remaining. We're just going to type that in, or total left, however you want to phrase that. And this number right here, I'm going to actually highlight this green. This is going to be the sum. So you're basically going to add all of these right here, and this is basically going to be all the money you have left, okay, at the end of the budget. So what we're going to do is really simple. We're just going to click on that green cell, and we're going to hit equals, type in sum, S-U-M, parentheses, and then what we're going to do is we're going to actually click on the first cell and we're just going to drag, and we basically want to highlight everything yellow, okay? You can get the blue and the words in there as well, that won't affect it, but you're basically going to highlight everything yellow, so all of the remaining categories, and then you're going to hit close parentheses, enter. So now this right here, I'm going to change this to the money currency. This right here shows you how much money is left in your budget. Okay, so obviously at the beginning of your budget, this is going to be the same because you haven't spent anything. But as you spend and as you update this budget, it's going to update this number. So when you reach the end of the month and you're closing out your budget and you're getting ready to make your next month's budget, you don't have to add all of these categories individually. It's done it all for you. So this whole process, it takes a little time up front, but once you get it done, you can just copy and paste and use the same budget over and over, or just make little tweaks as you go. All right, so now at this point, we have this budget completely built out. It's totally functional. You can track all your expenses. It's going to keep track of how much money you have left and everything. The last thing that I want to show you guys with this budget is how to handle your savings. Okay, so I'm actually going to highlight this purple so we can see it. It's a little bit different. Okay, so let's say it's the end of the month, okay, and we've spent money. We know how much we have left here. Now keep in mind, this amount right here, this also includes all of the savings up here, okay? So if we were to come over here and we were to transfer our full 400, our full 100, and our full 350 like we planned, then we still have, because we haven't actually updated this budget, we would still have $1,036 in here, okay? Now, that is truly the money that we have left. Does that make sense? So what we can do with this extra money is we could actually transfer more into our vacation fund, we could transfer more into our savings account, so on and so forth, okay? But let's say, for example, we spent way too much on Netflix. Let's say we spent $1,200 on Netflix, okay? And we come down here, and after we transferred our money to savings and whatnot, we're actually in the negative of $163.34. So what's happening is we can't actually transfer all of this money into savings because obviously this month, this has to equal zero. This number right here, total remaining, when you close out your budget, this needs to equal zero, okay? And this is why we do all of our savings transfers at the end. So let's say, for example, we know we haven't transferred over 400 yet. Okay, so let's say we've transferred money to our emergency fund, we've transferred our money to our vacation fund, but we haven't transferred our $400. But all we have left is $236. So all that we can actually transfer is $236.66. And then that ties us out to zero. Does that make sense? And this says remaining $163.34, but that's only because we went over up here. Does that make sense? So as we close out our budget, that is why we transfer our money at the end of the month, and that's how we figure out whether we actually need to dip into our savings or not to cover the expenses for that month, okay? I hope all of that made sense. I hope this budget is helpful to you. If you have any questions at all on how this works or the formulas or how to apply this or just about budgeting at all, please let us know in the comments below. We would be more than happy to help and walk you guys through anything you need or do any follow-up videos to explain anything that you might need some more help on. So we love you guys. Go live your dreams and have a great day. Bye.